Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Anxiety Warriors podcast. We are your hosts, Margot
and Abby. We are friends, teachers, and storytellers, but above all, we're anxiety warriors on a mission to raise awareness and understanding about anxiety and mental health.
You will hear honest, engaging, and joyful stories from us and many other anxiety warriors about living with anxiety. If you're seeking a space to laugh, connect, feel inspired and empowered, and learn valuable tips rooted in mindfulness and more, your warrior community is here for you.
Join us as we navigate this journey of life together.
What's up, warriors?
Yay!
Yay! Did I throw you with the what's up?
You did.
Did I throw you?
Should I go like,
oh God. Shout out to all our other fellow dorky loser millennials.
Yeah. I never did that during that time. I'm embarrassed for myself right now that I did that. Are you embarrassed for me?
Light shame. I mean, I just did it too. So I'm not embarrassed because we're both weird together.
Yeah.
It's fine.
True.
It's fine. Besides, our warriors are our community. They see us. They value us. Hopefully they understand what they're getting here.
Yes, at this point.
I mean, 3.5 seasons in.
Yeah.
More than a half. More than a half?
Mm-hmm.
More than a half. Wow,
yeah, it's almost May, which is like our anniversary.
Oh, we're gonna celebrate.
Yeah.
All right. Getting off already, warriors. We are here for a brand new little mini segment that we just coined right as we were hitting record. It's random
anxieties.
Yes. Oh, I like it. Random anxieties.
Hopefully we'll remember that.
Well, we always have this to go back to.
Yeah.
Let's catalog what number of episodes this is in my brain so we know. So Abby had this topic idea, not random anxieties. That's like the parent company to this conversation.
We just collabed on the random anxieties. You love it. Margot
can't keep this continue now. How am I supposed to continue now? We might have to cut this, y'all.
No, this is good. This is improvised, and it totally it works.
It works. We do collab as co-creators and hosts of this podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes people ask us for collabs that are kind of inappropriate.
Yeah.
Not solicited or
annoying.
Unevenly matched.
Yeah.
Annoying. Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe that's another random anxiety topic.
It is a random anxiety topic.
Yeah. We're gonna be adding that one to the calendar for shout.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we talking about today?
So we're talking about when we feel anxious for other people, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and this is okay. So this is where this idea came from. So Margot doesn't even know this. But I before Margot and I started recording, I was telling her how Dan and I have been going to improvise Shakespeare. And improvised Shakespeare is this troupe out of, I think, Chicago. And they travel around the country. And it's just like regular improv, except for that it's Shakespeare influenced, right? And so it's always ends either as a tragedy or a comedy. They use words like thou and shalt, right? But then it's like they take a suggestion from the audience of the title, right? And so then they create a whole 90-minute Shakespeare play based on the title. And they often have names like Pericles, or, they bring back names from different Shakespeare plays and sonnets and everything. Anyway, that is all to say, Dan and I went to a show like a week and a half ago. I'm obsessed. And it was our first time going to this show, and they asked for a title. And then this guy steps out, and I recognize this guy. I'm like, how do I know this guy? Did I see him in New York, city, in improv? I had no idea. I figured out later that part's not important. And he steps up to do the monologue. And I just started sweating bullets for him. I was like, don't mess up. Why would I think he's going to mess up? Right? He's a professional improviser. I'm sitting on the edge of the seat, just waiting. And he did a 10-minute monologue, all of it rhyming and just in a Shakespearean way. I was blown away. That's it. I've already seen, 2 shows, going to 2 more. I'm obsessed with them. Anyway, the feeling of feeling anxious for this guy to perform, even though he's a professional, I was like, oh my God, this is another type of anxiety. This is anxiety for other people. And then I texted Margot and I was like, this is what we got to do.
I love it. So, okay, describe some of the anxiety symptoms that you felt for him.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I felt so nervous. I mean, honestly, I like kept thinking like, oh God, I hope you're good. Oh God, not like, I hope you're good so I enjoy the show. More like, don't mess up so you don't feel embarrassed. Like, why? Like,
right. Right, because then you'll be low-key embarrassed for him. But do you think it's partially because you know what it feels like to do improv?
I don't know, because I feel like I would feel that anyway. Like, I feel like when people get on stage, right? Especially like if I know them, there's like if you were to get on stage to do a presentation, even though I have total confidence in you and know you could handle it and know you probably over prepared, and probably can't over prepare, but you can practice, but
sure.
But I still would feel nervous and anxious for you. I'd be like, oh, I hope you do well. I hope you feel like you did well. I hope, right? Like, so with this guy, I think his name is Ross. I think his name is Ross. And I was sweating. Okay. I was a little bit like nervous. I was like so hyper focused to listen. Right? Like, right? I think I probably held my breath and wasn't breathing. Right. And then when he was done, I like had this like huge relief and then like cried for him. Like, you did it. He fucking does this all the time. Like, who am I to have this anxiety for him? But then I started thinking about like all the other times, and like, I mean, I have anxiety like for characters on TV shows.
Yes. And in movies and stuff. Yeah. That was where my head went. 100%. I'm like, this is an actor performing. It's been heavily edited and vetted.
It's scripted and everyone knows like what's going to happen. Even the character knows, right? Like, or the actor knows, right? And it's like, still there's like, I think for me, ultimately, it's like sweating a lot, right? Like in my armpits. Sometimes my hands get clammy too.
Yeah.
And then like either super hyper focused on it to like look for cues on how everyone's doing and everything, or so distracted by feeling nervous for the character or the person on stage or whatever. Right.
They're like not being present anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's like so nerve-wracking, right? I'm like constantly thinking like, oh, I hope you do well, or oh, don't do that, right? Like, or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And then like always like usually like relief after, except for like sometimes like I feel like maybe at some point you would bring this up, but maybe not. But like when I was thinking of like characters in TV shows, I was thinking about The Office and Scott's Tots. And like I can't watch that episode because even though I've seen it a handful of times, that is the episode I've seen the least because it gives me so much anxiety for everyone in it.
Yes. Yeah, because it's deeply wrong and problematic, right? Or at least that's what it is for me, for that episode in particular. Sorry to our non-Office listeners. You need to start watching The Office. That's the only thing I can say about that.
Start with that episode.
No, we want them to keep watching, Abby. No, you do not start with that episode. Fair. You watch it in succession. Anyway, but the other one for me, since we're on that quick topic, and this is random anxieties, is the Prince Family Paper. That's the other one.
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's my worst episode. It's that and Scott's Tots are pretty much neck and neck, but I actually can't watch that one more because of the family business. It just feels so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah. Okay, wait, will you give our audience a little, in case they don't know the story, like a little snippet of why that's so anxiety producing?
Sure. So the main character of The Office, Steve Carell, plays Michael Scott, and he is the regional manager of this paper company in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
I love this detail. I would never have included this. This is great.
You gotta set up the story. Yeah. And he and one of the top salesmen, played by Rainn Wilson, Dwight Schrute, kind of a zany, strange guy, but very, very good at his job, very serious about his job. The two of them decide that they need new clients, right? They're struggling, the paper industry, blah, blah, blah. So they start start looking at a bunch of local and big chain paper suppliers to see if they can mooch some of the clients from those people.
Yeah.
And so one of them's pretty local. And so the two of them show up separately to this family-run paper supply company. Literally, there is a son, a dad, a grandma, a granddaughter doing homework at a desk. Like, it is the sweetest thing. And not only is it family-run business, but they are just the kindest people on planet Earth. And so, you know, Michael Scott, the character, Steve Carell's character, walks in and he's looking for a new paper supplier. He's like supposed to be a small business owner looking for a new paper supplier. And then, you know, Dwight walks in looking for a new job as a salesman for paper supply. And they walk in a few minutes apart and they talking to different people. And they basically hand over their client list and say, we've been working with these clients for dozens of years, some of them in some cases. You can call any one of them and they'd be happy to tell you what a reputable company we are, like about how great our customer service is, blah, blah, blah. And so basically these poor people, these poor, vulnerable, innocent, you know, just amazing people, give them exactly what they want. They barely had to ask, and they handed it over. And then guess what? Ultimately, many episodes later, you find out that their business closed from lack of fucking business. And so like, you don't have that last bit of knowledge until episodes later. But all the other stuff I said happens in this episode, and it is excruciating to watch.
And I mean, Michael and Dwight are both awkward, like so awkwardly uncomfortable in their interactions.
Yeah, which is pretty much par for the course for them anyway. But yes.
But it makes it like layered in the anxiety too, because you're like, oh, they're so awkward.
They're acting so terribly at this.
Right. And they're still giving them this information. Like, they're not reading the room, you know? Like,
they're gullible, they're innocent. Oh my God, it's heart-wrenching. It really is. And then when you ultimately learn that they go out of business thanks to their fucking horrificness.
Yeah.
It's like, this is why I can't watch that. I refuse to watch that episode. That one I've seen maybe twice.
What do you feel in your body?
I feel like I want to throw up. I feel angry. I'm like yelling stuff usually. I'm usually hiding. This is something I do a lot when I'm anxious and when I have anxiety about other things or other people, right? I'm anxious for another person or group of people or show or whatever. I'm physically hiding.
Yeah.
So I'm like behind a blanket or I'm literally covering my eyes. I'm like, sometimes I'll even cover my ears. I'm like, my senses can't handle this discomfort.
Yeah.
And because I have the option to walk away or, you know, stop some of my senses even temporarily, I do whatever I can to keep myself from hearing the discomfort. And that way I don't have to feel those feelings. Now it's harder to do, like what you said, in a live performance, potentially.
Yeah.
You don't have as many options, you know.
And I don't like want to plug my ear. Like, I want to hear, right? Like, I don't want to close my eye. Right. So I'm just sitting there like it's like the sweat drips, right? It's not even like sweaty armpits. It's like it rolls down. You're like, oh my God, I'm so anxious for these people. And then once they get in their rhythm, then you're like, oh, phew, okay. Right? Like,
well, there's the added anxiety too of like, if you know the person, right?
Yeah.
For me anyway, if you know the person, let's just say you knew the improv person, like personally or whatever, or it was me up there, right? Or whatever the situation, or it was you up there. And then let's just say you have a hard show or something didn't go right. And then it's about, oh God, then I have anxiety of what am I supposed to say to my friend or this person that I know after they fucked up or they had a flub or whatever. And it's like now I'm anxious for them and for me about how I'm going to handle their upset feelings later.
Yeah.
Maybe, potentially.
Right. Yeah. It's like if they make a mistake on stage or whatever, like in live performances, right? I don't feel embarrassed for them, like based on my perspective. I feel embarrassed, like, all right, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, that was so embarrassing. I'm like, oh my God, if I did that, I would be mortified and embarrassed. So I'm going to project my feelings onto them. Right. And then I don't know how to act. Like, oh, right. Like, but maybe they don't even care. Like, you know,
that's the dangerous thing too about having by proxy anxiety or whatever we would call it, right? Like having it not be yours. It's like, are you potentially making them feel a certain kind of way that they didn't feel before you said something or before you behaved a certain way around them? Like, it's a risk, man.
Yeah, right. Oof. it's like, hey, how did you feel it wet? Right? Like, lead me to how I should react. Because if that was me, I'd be mortified and embarrassed and overthinking it. Right? Like,
yeah. Well, if you added all those things, I'd be like, wait, what happened? I didn't think it was that. Right. So like you have to, it's just,
yeah.
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that honestly fascinates me that you even thought of. Like it always just makes me chuckle at some of the stuff we'll randomly think of when we have a weird interaction or experience. We're like, oh wait, that's a new form of anxiety that we somehow haven't gotten to in over 3 years. Like it's so bizarre to me. It makes me chuckle that there are still random, even little things like this that I thought we were gonna run out of topics by now, maybe. But
I know. I remember when we like made a list and we still haven't even covered the entire list because new things always come up. Right.
Yes.
But like, I mean, right. Who talks about having anxiety for other people in their own experience? Right. I've never communicated with, like, I don't know if this guy Ross was nervous or not. I was just nervous for him because coming up with a 10-minute Shakespearean monologue based on what was what was the title? Oh, it was so good. It was The Very British Cuttlefish. Right? So random. And yet he delivered, like, I wish it was magic. Like he is magical, right? He is magical and everyone should know who he is. And maybe I'll put his name in the show notes. He is a magical improviser and his delivery was amazing. Everything was incredibly amazing. But like when you hear like The Very British Cuttlefish and then like you're like, oh my God, he's going to do a monologue. And then you're like, oh my God, he keeps going. Oh my God, he keeps going. Oh my God, this isn't a 2-minute monologue, right? Like, how's he going to tie it all in, right? Or even like at the end of shows, especially like improvised shows, right? Where all of them, none of them know what's happening. They're all just working together. They're all collabing, right? To get to that end part. And you're like, oh, are they going to pull it off? Or are they not? Are they being good? Or are they not?
Like, will they land this plane smoothly or will it be choppy? Totally.
Yes. Yeah. And then like the relief, like just like I've done public speaking and I've had my own anxiety about public speaking and this and that. And I've gotten more comfortable with it. But anytime I would like step off stage or like the, fake stage or whatever, like the imaginary stage, anytime I would step off from public speaking, there was always this like rush of relief. Like, even if I didn't feel stressed, there was still stress in me and then it would like flood through. And I still feel that like in watching performances, but not always in the office because sometimes I don't feel that resolve and I'm still like anxious. Like when you're talking about, both Scott's Tots and
Prince Family Paper.
Prince Family Paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Oi. Well, so the thing I was going to share was actually about a TV show also that we just finished the second season. It's on Netflix. It's called Physical 100 and it's a South Korean show and it's a competition show and it starts out with 100 people. Most of them are South Korean. Some of them are American or whatever, but they live in South Korea. They speak, Korean, whatever. And it is, without getting into too many details, right, about the show, it starts out with 100 people, and then ultimately they move through a series of physical challenges. Some of them are individual challenges. Some of them are with a group or team. The way the teams are selected are very dramatic. And, then there's those moments where people have been quote unquote sent home, but then they have a chance to redeem themselves and get back in the game and get back in it. And then ultimately there's one winner at the end and they win a ton of money, right? And there's just something Adam and I loved it so much. We loved the first season. We were so excited when the second season came out. We literally just finished the last episode last night. And I don't know what it is about, similar to what you're saying about improv, but there's something about in the moment physical experiences, right? Mm-hmm. Watching people do something right here and now with their body. Yes, the show is edited, right? But like for the most part, you're like, okay, the challenge has begun and you're seeing a cut version of it. But it's just so compelling to me. And also so nerve-wracking because I'm just like, I want them to succeed. I want them to finish the challenge. I want, even if they don't even if they know in their mind that they're going home, right? They're in last place. I want them to see it through. There's like something just so, I feel so connected, I think is what it is, to their strength, to their sacrificing of their body, and that sounds kind of dark, but like, you know what I mean? Anyone that's ever done anything physical with their body, sports, dance, whatever it is, gymnastics, literally anything.
Yes.
What to
Yes.
say, like, there's so much effort and hard work that goes into whatever they're doing. And so for me, it's always like, I'm uncomfortable with the idea that they're failing or struggling. I don't want that for them because of my own projection, obviously. But then I also am thinking, oh, but they finished it. They made it. They can hold their heads up, or like, and if they don't finish, I have anxiety for when they go home. Will they regret that they were unable to finish that thing and that their legs basically stopped working because they were doing like 500 squats with like 800 pounds? Like, these challenges are ridiculous, and at the same time it's so compelling and everyone's cheering each other on. I really feel like it's related to our deeper humanity or something. Like it's
empathy.
Like, I think I feel like that's what
but
we're
projected with anxiety.
It's empathy. But how we handle it is one thing. But I do feel like it's because we're putting ourselves in those people's shoes that's giving us the anxiety. Right?
Nice reframe there, right?
I think I truly believe it. I'm really not trying to reframe it.
No,
that is what I think is happening.
Right.
So, but anyway,
maybe if you like, you don't have a strong sense of empathy, you're going to be detached from it.
You're not going to have that by proxy anxiety,
right?
Or as much or whatever, right? And so like I was so many times. I'm like, I would turn to Adam, I'm like, make it stop, hurry it up, make it stop, like hard. And he's just like laughing at me because he knows he's obviously very used to me. He knows like what I'm doing. I'm not actually saying like turn this off or demand.
Right.
He's not editing the show.
Right.
He's not going to fast forward it either because he's watching it, but I'm just suffering behind a blanket or something, waiting for somebody to fall or anyway. And I get that it's a lot of it's for drama. It's literally drama. Yes, it's reality, but like you're not literally watching a live sporting event. That could be a whole other conversation, but it goes to what I'm saying. It's like you're watching a live experience of people's physicality, people trying to win something, right? For their team, for themselves, for their country, whatever. And so there's so many,
Well, you made me think of the Olympics.
100%.
I didn't even like think of that when I was thinking of this topic and everything, right? Like thinking about it, like my palms are getting sweaty, like for real, like thinking about like all of those times. And then I was like, you and I aren't sports people. Like I was just thinking this right now as you were sharing. And I was like, but if we were sports people, would we constantly be anxious watching sports? And how many people are actually anxious watching their favorite teams? Right?
I'm going to go with most of them. If they're like really love the team.
Like, I was going to say like, what's our empathy level with people that like watch a lot of football and basketball? I'm totally making a stereotype right there.
I was about to say, I'm like, easy now.
but you know, like I never even thought of like the anxiety in watching football because like I don't care about football, right? Like
the spotters,
but like I bet people get really sweaty and really like of course they're invested, but I never thought of it as anxiety by proxy, right? Like
it's when I think that I fully believe that that's what it is. To some extent, some people are just assholes and they just like, oh, you make so much money, you should be winning all the games. It's like, come on, they're still people, like whatever.
Go do it yourself, you loser, you non-empathetic creature.
100%. So so warriors, what we're saying here is that if you don't have empathy, you should work on that. Just kidding. Although I'm not really kidding.
Not really kidding.
Not really kidding.
Yeah. If you don't have anxiety by proxy, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? We're totally joking. Please feel the sarcasm.
We are joking.
Please feel the sarcasm. I know it's hard with this audio medium, but it seems like that's the deeper feeling, right?
Yeah.
Is that we're caring outwardly via sweat and upset feelings inside or lots of racing thoughts or whatever it is.
A beating heart, a fast beating heart.
Hiding behind stuff, whatever it
Holding
is.
breath, forgetting to breathe. Like
oh my God, yes, 100%. Yeah. Please don't get me started on like women's gymnastics when they're on a 4-inch beam. I'm like, they're crazy. They're going to fall and die. Some of that's just my risk assessment issues because those people are insane. But so what we're trying to say here is that it's very likely that you haven't thought about this type of anxiety in your own journey. It's very likely. Maybe it's all consuming for you, and I'm totally wrong about that. But
yeah,
think of some of the ways today, this week, that this type of anxiety, this anxiety by proxy, apparently we're sticking with that.
yeah,
I think it works. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
How it shows up in your life, when it shows up. Do you find that you're most anxious at some kind of like live event, like we've mostly been discussing, or even things that are like pre-edited and created, like movies or television shows? Or is it things related to people you know, things that your decisions that your family makes? What about if you have grown children and they're out in the world, right? Like I imagine, like I know, talking to my parents all the time, my mom in particular, who's an anxiety warrior, she's constantly saying how anxious she is about stuff that's going on with me, my brother and sister, her grandchildren. Like, you know, it's when you love people and you care about people, even if they're people you don't know, right? That's where the empathy comes in.
Yep.
You can still feel that shared humanity. And we've all had that experience of looking at another person and putting ourselves in that person's shoes, whatever they may
Yes.
be.
And we want them to succeed. So that's nice of us, right?
And
It's
be
coming
safe,
from
and
a
be
place
safe
of
and healthy and all
Yeah.
the things.
Yeah.
All the things. All right.
Margot, do you have a win of the week? Win of the week.
I feel like it gets worse every time we do it. I love it. I love it. I'm here for it. So my win really quickly is that, you know, not long ago, we talked about anticipation anxiety, and I spent a very long time talking about roller coasters. Adam and I went away for our 24-year anniversary to Disney World, which was a last minute kind of spontaneous trip. We did talk about it briefly, and it finally happened. We were able to go. We got the free tickets and all the things I was sharing about in one of our previous episodes. We had a great time, and I am just so proud of myself. I did freaking amazing on all the lines. I was able to tap into all of my practices. I was able to let go and just enjoy. I hated waiting, but not because of anxiety, because I'm old now and my body was tired waiting on the line. So I was very, very happy. It felt like a massive win because this didn't happen this week, but it was recently enough.
It's a huge win.
It's just a couple weeks ago, and I'm just super, super proud that I was more annoyed with how my body felt on the line as opposed to having anxiety about the ride itself. So yay, huge win.
Yay, huge.
Yay. All right, warriors, we love you so much. Thanks for joining us again this week. If you would like to connect with us for any reason, join our Instagram family. We're at Anxiety Warriors Podcast, or feel free to shoot us an email at anxietywarriorspodcast@gmail.com to shout out your wins of the week, big or small. If you have any topic ideas for us, you can email them to us or DM them to us. And if you think you would be an amazing guest on our pod, let's chat. Let's get you on this show. We'd love to hear from you. Take a moment and smash the 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have all of our episodes uploaded for you over there. And if you're feeling super generous, go into the merch shop link in our show notes and grab yourself something fun, you know, to support our show so we have less anxiety.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, but
it makes sense because
we just got a couple sales today. We were celebrating over it.
Some random stranger in California.
If you're listening, thank you. If you went on our Redbubble, we have a Redbubble too, and Threadless.
Yeah, we don't actually talk about that.
We don't promote the Redbubble.
It's just easier to talk about one.
It's true. We don't want to confuse y'all. So go on either one though. Look up Anxiety Warriors Podcast on either Redbubble or Threadless. Threadless is linked in our show notes. That is our preferred site. So that's it.
We love you. Thanks so much for going on this journey with us. We are grateful we get to do this with you.
Until next time.